Do you want the facts? Can you handle the facts? Are you over the beliefs? Are you tired of the lies? Have you uncovered what religion really is? Do you identify as an Alkebulan kidnapped? If so, then welcome to The Verdict, where we stand on facts over beliefs. Court is in session. Do you want the facts?
Court is in session. What it do, y'all? It's your brother, man, from the motherland, coming to you guys live from the NY, back with another one of that Verdict Facts Over Feelings show. And for those that don't know who I am your host, Honorable Jones, the NBIC. And of course, you know, like I said, I represent that ROD. Want to give a shout out to the creators, to the ancestors, and to my YouTube family, because through this, you guys allow me to do what I do best, and that is to continue keeping my foot on you heathens, you he-girls, and the newly installed heathenites next, but we banging the gavel. Yes, I can't bang too hard. My son is sleeping literally right behind me, so I can't bang too hard. But what I can do is ensure you for another phenomenal verdict show. And today, we put in the Bible on trial. The Bible and the religion, all of it, whether it's Judaism, Christianity, Hebrewism, Bantuisms, all the isms, we're putting this on trial today. And not only are we putting it on trial, we're going to see if this so-called Biblos is the word of the Bantus. And I'm going to play a video. It's only 30 minutes, and then we're going to dive in. I'm going to play the video first. But before I play the video, let me address something. You see, when you guys see me, you guys see a regular colored man. Some of you guys see me for who I am, right? Some of you guys can feel the so-called ghetto-ness of me. You guys can see that. And a lot of you guys will also see or presume that I carry or possess a lot of ignorance. And sometimes I want you guys to understand that this is psychological. You always play the dumbest in the room, even though you're the smartest. I want you guys to remember that. Why am I saying that? I seen something on my Facebook where it seems like a lot of woke, conscious people like to attack religions like Christianity, Islam, and you know, basically demonize their beliefs and uphold the beliefs that they believe in, and fail to realize that both of these things, whether you are a Hebrew or Bantu or Christian, Islam, all of these things falls down and must answer back to the Pope. So I asked a question, and the response that I've got, and I'm not gonna read it, but basically the response was, the person is not new to this, they're true to this. Something about speaking to the choir, or the last one I remember was don't throw rocks at a glass house. Yeah, so when the individual stated that, and now, like I said, we're gonna watch the video, but I gotta get this off. So when the individual stated that, I had to, and I don't want to say address it, but you gotta ask the questions. It was plagiarized. It was marginalized. It was everything, and the proof is that it was stolen from the Bantu scrolls. Now, my response to that is quite simple. can you give me access to this Bantu scroll? Because I would love to see the original print. And if you don't have access to that, then you cannot. Hold on, let me call my lady. Give me a second. Give me a second, guys. Yo, hon, can you come close the kettle for me, please? And if you don't have access to this, then that means what you're telling me is a assumption, an insertion, or a belief. And for somebody that's true to this, not new to this, or somebody that is saying don't throw glass, don't throw rocks at the glass house, I'm guessing it might just shadow on somebody. I don't know. But in all respective, in all reality, if you must provide me with the Bantu scrolls. I need to see the Bantu scrolls. If your argument is it's plagiarized, it's been copied, it's been doing this, that's what led me to stop. Oh, I can't teach this because I'm selling you a story that's not standing on no facts, nor do I have access granted. And we're not going to say what's being said out of the Biblos is wrong and is incorrect. We're not going to say that. What we're going to say is that if you're saying that this story is about us and it was stolen from us and it was created and et cetera, then I need to see the unedited version. And if you don't have access to that, then you can't let that be your argument or your reasoning into why, the Biblos is ours and it was stolen. But anyway, I want to play this video for you because, like I said, the Biblos is on trial. And not only is it on trial, everything, the Biblos, the religion, everything that comes along with it is on trial. And after this video, I hope you guys get a different perspective and then also give feedback, because this is what we need. We need feedback. We need dialogues. We need to build so we can get to that next level. As you guys can see, I explain this later. We gonna play this video, okay? So without further ado, grab yourself a popcorn because I'm about to set it through. Are you dumb or are you dumb? Let's go. Hey, babe.
Get a lot of hate mail and some very, a lot of death threats and rape threats and all that kind of stuff. I think partly the violence of that response reflects a fear, reflects just how frightened they are by these ideas. They accuse me of blasphemy and all various other things, but actually what it's doing, it reflects their deep-seated insecurities about, well, what if it's not true? What if this is not, reality? What if my ideas about...
And that is the $1 million question. Let me fix this quick fast. Okay. That is the $1 million question, guys. The $1 million question is this camera I gotta look at. I got double cameras today, people. So my apologies. Where am I? Okay, perfect. Now, what this sister is saying right here, you could pass it, babe. Just put it on top. You can't be seen, babe. You're not gonna be seen. So, what this sister is saying is one of the main issues that we have with religion and Christianity and just the Biblos is when we start to question the passage within the Biblos, we are met with some resistance, and the rebuttals and the responses always falls in the guidelines of being atheists or being non-believers or being demon possessed, or everything that comes along with the ideology, right? When reality is, we're just trying to find the narrative, right? Because for everything that's given to somebody has to have a reason. There's a reasoning into why I'm giving you such things. And if I'm giving you such things, then I need to understand why am I giving it to you. So she said some valid points. I'm going to let the video play. Again, I have to pop out in and out for copyright reasons. YouTube don't play, and I don't want to have no time to respond to the nonsense. Okay? So without further ado, let us continue.
World and the next life are not real. Also, the Bible is massively written to be these kinds of authoritative, sacred.
The Bible is often treated as an immutable text, a pure revelation meant to connect humanity to the divine. But what if it is also a carefully crafted tool to serve human purposes? Francesca Stavrakopoulou, a renowned biblical scholar and an outspoken atheist, challenges this traditional view. Her work dismantles the sacred veneer of the Bible, revealing it as a product.
And for the record, if you are a El Cabulan kidnapped, by default, you are an atheist. What is an atheist? An atheist is somebody that does not believe in the God that's established this entire systematic infrastructure. And we as El Cabulan kidnapped, we are atheists. We have been converted into the religion. But in reality, we are the El Cabulan kidnapped. Just wanted to throw that out there. Let us continue.
Of human ambition. Stavrakopoulou argues that the biblical text, widely accepted as the foundation of morality and faith, was also a strategic construction used to consolidate political power and control societal structures. By uncovering its historical and cultural contexts, she invites readers to reconsider the intentions behind this influential document. Think about the power of stories. They can inspire.
Real quick, let me give a shout out to Wise Quote. They are the ones that put this video together. Definitely subscribe to their channel. Their channel is in the description down below. Follow them, support them, be a part of their movement. They're like 9,000 subscribers. With the work that they're putting in, they should be at least 80 to 100,000 subscribers. So support them. Hit the like button, share this, and also share this. Share the verdict, facts over feelings, facts over beliefs, and all the other things that comes along with the ideology of the Luciferians. Share this. We outside with it. You heard?
Unite and transform, but in the right or wrong hands, they can also manipulate, suppress, and dominate. The biblical narrative, far from being a mere reflection of spirituality, holds evidence of a past shaped by human intentions. Forgotten fragments, erased figures, and reshaped ideas suggest that these stories were not only a bridge to the divine, but also a means to legitimize hierarchies and centralize authority. A central question arises: who is God? The idea of a transcendental, abstract, omnipotent being seems unquestionable today. However, ancient texts describe a God with a body and emotions, a tangible being who directly interacted with the world and its people. This shift in perception was not merely theological, but also political. A distant and intangible God creates dependence. An intermediary class is needed to interpret and mediate the divine. With this, spiritual power also became social power. The erasure of female divine figures adds another layer of mystery. Archaeological inscriptions suggest that the God of Israel, Yahweh, had a consort named Asherah. She was worshipped alongside him, representing a balance between the masculine and the feminine.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me put some pimping in it. As you've seen that ever since I've been bringing forth these informations, telling you that, monotheism wasn't us, that came along with the European infiltration, that we always had a divine order. Even in the land right now, there's a divine order. There's no gender when it becomes from the creators, because we already know that it's a masculine and a feminine energy come together, make one whole, and the names must be in reference. The name Sunini Nanini means Sunini masculine, Nanini feminine. When you look into Modimo got a counterpartner. I don't know, I forgot the name off the top of my head. Shiniki, all of these higher powers had a counter, had a confidant. Why? Because it's a divine order. When you remove the Euro-Christian ideology, you'll get a better understanding. And look, they're coming out all of a sudden telling you what I've been saying for the last, 7, 8 months, maybe a year now? Let us continue.
Over time, however, her worship was rejected and her presence was erased from narratives. Why was such a significant figure erased? This exclusion reflects not just religious changes, but a deliberate restructuring of spiritual and social foundations, where patriarchy was established as the norm. And what about monotheism? Far from being an original trait of the Israelite religion, it was, according to Stavrakopoulou.
And what's so phenomenal about this piece right here is that you guys base your studies off the Israelites, and they're going to tell you that even themselves had multiple deities, which also proves my point that we had multiple deities. Monotheism is mind control over your soul. That's monotheism, if you didn't know. But let us continue. And why I say control over your soul? Because you need a balance in order for you to walk within your soul. If you're only having one foot, one leg, you're going to hop your way through. Some of you guys may complete the task, and others may fall flat on your ass. That is a fact. Let us continue.
Polytheism, a late construction, an effort to unify a fragmented people under a single authority. The transition from polytheism to monotheism was a strategic move, eliminating local deities and decentralized practices to concentrate power in the hands.
And deities means the angels, the guardians, the ones that guarding the realms between you, that's the divine connection between you, the real interpretation, the real interpreter for the creators was with the deities. Like Ogun. Yeah, these are the warriors that dwell. Yes, it's literally a hierarchy within the spiritual realm. And names like Ogun was the warriors, those that's in the front lines, where you have to talk to them and they return the message to the creators, and the creators bring the message back. Or if the creators feel that you're there, meaning spiritually connected, you eating right, your diet is on point, your lifestyle is on point, your love, you're not walking with anger and bitterness, you're moving in pure righteousness, the ancestors and the creators will come give you a conversation, true conversation, not this Abrahamic nonsense or you having a divine dream. No, they're going to come to you when you least expect it. I know because I experienced that. Let us continue, though.
Of religious and political leaders. These are not merely theological questions. They touch on the core of how societies are organized, narratives are controlled, and collective identities are shaped. As we uncover these layers, we begin to see the Bible not only as a window to the divine, but also as a mirror reflecting human ambitions. When you imagine God, what image comes to mind? For many, God is an invisible, transcendent presence, far removed from human limitations. But what if the oldest biblical texts revealed something entirely different? Francesca Stavrakopoulou invites us to revisit the idea of God as a corporeal, tangible, and emotional being, someone who not only directly interacted with people, but also shared their vulnerabilities and passions. Consider Jacob's famous struggle with God by the Jabbok River. This account is not presented as a metaphor or spiritual vision, but as a physical combat, with Jacob limping away from the encounter. Or think of Moses on Mount Sinai, where God manifests so intensely that merely glimpsing his glory transforms Moses' face. These moments describe a God who is near, visceral, almost human. However, this concept was gradually abandoned. The shift from a corporeal God to an abstract entity was not merely theological. It was a strategic change with profound implications. A God with a body is accessible.
You hear that? I hope you guys are paying attention. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. Let us continue.
Familiar. He walks among his people, suffers with them, and shares their struggles. But this proximity also makes him vulnerable, reducing the need for intermediaries. After all, if God is by your side, why rely on priests to interpret his will? Over time, this perception shifted. An abstract, invisible, and unfathomable.
And what she said is 100% accurate. If we are connected with the creators and the creators is within us, and we are the so-called chosen, then why do I need a middleman or an interpreter to connect me back to God? So wasn't Jesus' purpose was to come and die for the sins of the people? Okay. So he risen, he's gone. So what happened to that divine connection that Abram had? How come nobody's having that? I'll let you guys figure that out, but I'm just throwing that out there because, like I said, these things need to be had, these conversations. And guess what? The Bible is on trial. How you like me now? Let us continue.
God creates natural dependency. Only those who claim to know him deeply, priests, kings, or prophets, can act as mediators. This transformation is significant. It marks a rupture in the relationship between the divine and humanity, introducing an institutional authority between the two. Imagine the impact of this change in ancient societies. What was once a direct connection to the sacred became mediated by rituals and hierarchies. The divine, previously part of everyday life, was distanced. Spiritual power was centralized, becoming an effective tool for controlling and regulating behavior. Religious authority became social and political, shaping entire cultures. On the other hand, something essential was lost. God's corporeality made him a reflection of human strengths and weaknesses. He was comprehensible, almost tangible. This aspect allowed for an intimate relationship in which the divine was not a distant figure, but a companion on life's journey. Stavrakopoulou argues that this connection was crucial for early worshippers, as it made God not only an entity to be revered, but also someone with whom they could interact. The transition to an abstract God did not occur without purpose. For those seeking to consolidate power, the idea of an unreachable God was convenient. It reinforced the need for religious institutions as mediators of divine will. This distancing became both a form of control and a blow to individual spiritual freedom. What does this transformation tell us about the role of biblical narratives? If the very nature of God was altered, what other parts of sacred stories may have been adjusted to serve human interests? Francesca Stavrakopoulou encourages us to view these texts with fresh eyes, not only as sources of inspiration, but also as tools of power. To understand how biblical narratives were shaped, we must explore the historical and social context in which they arose. The Bible was not written in isolation, but in a dynamic environment where various cultures, beliefs, and conflicts influenced daily life. Francesca Stavrakopoulou highlights that the theological transformations within the text did not occur solely through divine inspiration, but as responses to historical and political tensions. In the early periods of Israel's history, religion was decentralized and diverse. Small communities worshipped multiple deities at local altars without reliance on centralized temples or rigid hierarchies.
Now, just imagine people like us who don't know nothing about the Biblos, who lives in their little in their little nations, in their communities, and they was given worship and praise and glory and connection to not only the ancestors, but also to the deities and also to the creators. Because like I said, it's a chain of command. You have the flesh, which is us, and then you have the spirit. The spirit first goes through your ancestors. Your ancestors then go to the deities. The deities then go to the creators. The creators come back to you. All this, Jesus, listen. I'm not going to say too much. I'm just going to let the video play, and then we're going to come back after it's said and done. Let's go.
In this context, polytheism was a common and functional practice where each deity met the specific needs of their communities. Yahweh, the God of Israel, shared space with figures like Baal and, possibly, his consort.
Did you just hear that? Yahweh shared the same position as Baal. Yahweh's name is mentioned where? In the Bible. Yeah. Let's keep this on trial. Let's go.
Asherah. This system, while plural and decentralized, posed challenges for unifying the Israelite people. Surrounded by enemies and facing internal conflicts, religious and political leaders realized that a unifying narrative was necessary. It was in this environment that beliefs began to shift toward monotheism. Centralizing worship around Yahweh became not only a spiritual act, but also a political strategy to ensure cohesion and stability.
Now, for those that's questioning what I be saying, that we never knew what monotheism was. Monotheism came with these people. Hold on, let me grab the mic. Now, when I say that, I don't know, we didn't know what monotheism was, and that monotheism came with these guys. It came with them. It never came with us. You would never. It's years of colonization and being colonialized and taken advantage of, and you know, saying your culture and your heritage being removed. This is the reason why we're claiming to all of these monotheistic nonsense. This is why we claiming all of these religions and we learning all of these religions, but not a single person that comes from a so-called Christian background can give you an in-depth understanding of African spirituality. And it's by design. And that is a fact. Because if you was to tap into African spiritual, African El Kebulan spirituality, you will notice and you will see and you will learn without a shot of a doubt that monotheism was not something of us. But we're going to continue. Let's go.
This transition had profound implications. By eliminating or demoting other deities, monotheism reinforced the idea of a single, unquestionable authority. Worshipping Yahweh symbolized political loyalty as much as.
And the God of the Bible, which is Yahweh or Baal or Lord, whatever, has absolutely nothing, and I repeat, nothing to do with our creators. And I'm speaking for the black and brown. Oh yeah, it's going down. Oh yeah, it's going down. Make sure you hit that like button, share this, send this to your friends and family, because we're going to have a good one. Let's go.
Spiritual devotion. For leaders, this change offered a powerful tool of control, concentrating power in both religious and political spheres. Implementing this system, however, was not straightforward. Ancient texts needed to be adapted or rewritten to align with the new orthodoxy. Decentralized practices, such as the veneration of Asherah or local gods, were condemned as idolatry. Passages that previously mentioned or tolerated these traditions were suppressed or reinterpreted. Religious plurality, which reflected the diversity of communities, was replaced with a single, centralized narrative. Stavrakopoulou emphasizes that this change redefined not just spirituality, but society as a whole. Decentralized worship allowed greater autonomy for communities, whereas centralized monotheism required the mediation of priests and political leaders. This hierarchy created a system of control where religion and politics were inseparable. The exclusion of figures like Asherah is a striking example of this process. Her absence reflects not just theological changes, but a cultural restructuring that marginalized the divine feminine. By erasing her presence, the new narrative consolidated a patriarchal spirituality mirroring the social structures taking shape. However, remnants of this pluralistic past remain. Archaeological inscriptions, popular practices, and even some biblical passages suggest that the transition to monotheism was neither immediate nor universally accepted. The conflict between
It was nor universally accepted. So what did they do to make the people accept such things? Yeah. And in between and making people accept that, slavery also came out of it. In the name of Yahweh, in the name of the Lord, in the name of Jesus, in the name of Ahiah, all the Hebrews, all the Greek, all those gods, yeah, that's who initiated such wickedness and evil and the destruction upon people. Yeah, let us continue, though. Let us continue.
centralized worship and local traditions is evident in texts denouncing idolatry or criticizing practices that challenge Yahweh's exclusivity. These echoes of the past remind us that the Bible is both a spiritual document and a reflection of human disputes. Delving into the historical context of its composition reveals that centralizing worship of Yahweh was not just a natural evolution, but a deliberate construction. This realization prompts us to question how much the biblical narratives reflect the divine and how much they reveal the ambitions of their authors. Among the most intriguing revelations Francesca Stavrakopoulou brought forth is the hypothesis that Yahweh, the God of Israel, was not originally a solitary figure. Archaeological evidence suggests that in ancient times he had a divine consort named Asherah. Inscriptions discovered at sites like Kuntilet Ajrud and Kirbet el-Kom mention Yahweh and his Asherah together, indicating that she was worshipped alongside him. But who was Asherah, and
Wait, what? So there was a hierarchy where there was a god and there was a female that was worshipped side by side. So if they stole that, they stole the Bantu scrolls and they just created their own version. So is what I'm saying accurate, correct, been right? Or I'm just speaking into thin air and I don't know what I'm talking about. This is them saying this. This is not me. But it leads you to question everything that you have been told. El Cabulet. Let us continue.
why was she erased from biblical narratives? Asherah was a central figure in Canaanite traditions, associated with fertility, protection, and balance, often represented by sacred trees or wooden pillars.
And when you hear Canaanite, just know you hear an African. When you hear the word Canaanite, you hearing African. Let that sink in. Let us continue.
Her presence is implied in various biblical passages, though frequently as an object of condemnation. Prophets denounce these sacred poles and related practices, labeling them as idolatry. However, this rejection was not merely spiritual, it was also political. Worship of Asherah undermined the exclusivity of Yahweh and the centralization of religious authority. To understand Asherah's erasure, we must look back to a time when Israelite worship was diverse and decentralized. Her presence alongside Yahweh symbolized a spirituality that balanced the masculine and the feminine. However, this balance was incompatible with the emerging patriarchal narrative. The shift toward monotheism demanded a single, exclusive deity, and Asherah's powerful symbolism presented an obstacle to this unification. The process of erasure was neither swift nor simple. It involved rewriting texts, destroying sacred symbols, and suppressing popular religious practices. Over centuries, Asherah's image was transformed into a symbol of heresy, and her memory was relegated to the fringes of official history. Yet traces of her...
Yeah, ladies. So this is, I do this, and I like to always question my sisters. Ladies, do you ever ask yourself why in the Biblos you guys have no position but being obedient servants, and that the cause of our demise originates from you? You ever ask yourself those questions? You ever ask yourself why they say you're not allowed to speak? You're not allowed to walk into a place without your head covered, etc., etc. You ever ask yourself these questions? Okay. We'll get back to it. Meditate on that.
Importance remain. References to sacred poles persist in some passages, and archaeological findings continue to reveal inscriptions and artifacts that testify to her ancient veneration. Why was it so crucial to eliminate Asherah? Stavrakopoulou argues that her presence posed a threat to the social order leaders sought to establish. The divine feminine represented not only balance, but also a source of spiritual power that challenged the dominance of male hierarchies.
Here it goes again with the word balance. The word balance in El Cabulin, we already knew that. We knew that our creator was a feminine and masculine energy. Put them together, it becomes one power source. That power source then is what, established the universe, meaning that our foundation is based on that order. That's why you have males and females on this earth. That's why you need both legs, two to tangle, two of everything, to move, to walk, to talk, to eat, to even sleep. You need two of everything. And I find it crazy that you guys still believe that monotheism is of African El Kebulan studies. Bad business. Bad business. Let's go.
By erasing Asherah, leaders suppressed not just a goddess, but also an idea that the sacred could encompass both the masculine and the feminine. The implications of this erasure were profound. Centralizing worship around a solely male deity reinforced patriarchal structures in religion and society. The spiritual framework, which once included the feminine as a vital force, became a tool for justifying exclusion and domination.
And now that I'm listening to this and I'm looking at this image right here, I gotta ask a question. Because the angels that fell down was men. The angels that got to answer to God are men. The angels that got to do the work of God is men. The angels that do all the praise and prayer is men. So that means the only people that get access into the heavens will be men. So, ladies, again, where do you play when it comes to the Biblos? Where is your space? 44,000, you're going to have 12,000 for each tribe, and guess what? All of them is men. Where is your position? What are you going to do? I know. Be home. Go fetch the wood. Right? Go fetch the wood. Go feed the cattle. And then when I'm ready to be aroused, come and open your legs and do what we do. And just, your main purpose is to reproduce. And if I die before you have a child, I now can be in a relationship with your father. This is in the Biblos, and I will show you if you want me to. Leave it in the comments, and I'll show you. Let's continue.
What was lost was more than just a goddess. It was an entire dimension of spirituality that honored the equilibrium between genders. However, the memory of Asherah was not entirely lost. Her symbols, rituals, and mentions in ancient texts endure, challenging the official narrative. Her absence from modern biblical texts is as telling as her presence in archaeological evidence. This contrast invites us to question whether the stories we have inherited reflect historical truth or the agendas of those who shaped them. Revisiting Asherah's role is more than an academic exercise. It is an opportunity to reflect on what was lost when the divine feminine was suppressed. What does it mean to live within a tradition that erased this aspect of the sacred? And what might we gain by rediscovering these forgotten stories? One of Francesca Stavrakopoulou's most transformative ideas is the notion that monotheism, which defines Judaism and its derivative religions, was not an original feature of Israelite faith. Early Israelites lived in a world of multiple deities, where Yahweh...
What did she just say? Earlier Israelites lived in a world with multiple deities? I mean, listen, even when you read the book of Exodus, and the book of Exodus tells you that when Moses went up and the people demanded Aaron to make them gods, keyword, plural, gods, so we can give worship to. When all of this transpired, they see all the glory that this so-called one God did. They didn't even respect it to believe that it was one person that did that. They say, give us our altar so we can give praise and worship to our gods, Gods. And when this political nonsense of these people wanting to be in power, they had to implement the first. They put it first. The commandments was given to the slaves. People, listen to me, okay? It tells everything within the first three commandments was directly to Al Kebulan people. Thou shalt not worship no other gods before me. What was you doing? We don't know Yahweh. We don't know Yahushua and all that. We didn't know who that was. So you should not have no other gods before me. You should not bow down, serve them, or worship them. Now, when you say bow down, serve, or worship them, that means the rituals, right? When you having when you giving the feast, you giving a sacrifice, you giving an offering. Where you think these people get it from? They got it from you. Right? According to what you guys say, this is our story. So then they got it from you. Look what they're telling you. Look what they're telling you. Let's continue. This is going to be a good one today, guys.
Was one among many. The shift to monotheism was not merely a spiritual evolution. It was a deliberate construction designed to centralize power and unify a fragmented people. Polytheism made sense in the cultural and historical context of the time. Each deity served specific purposes, meeting needs such as protection, fertility, war, or wisdom. Yahweh, for example, began as a war god associated with the Israelites' battles and conquests. As these communities sought stability in a region dominated by larger powers, religious diversity became a barrier to political cohesion. In this context, Yahweh was elevated as the primary deity, not necessarily due to spiritual merit, but as a political.
Yahweh was elevated. So who's over Yahweh? Who's over Yahweh? And I'm speaking for all those that call Yahweh divine power, the ones that call on these Hebrew gods as divine power. If Yahweh was was promoted to that position, then who is over him, and who held that position prior? And how did he get there? How did he get the keys to the throne? How? Remember when I told you guys that Ahiah is a Nephilim king, and his father is Shemgaza, one of the 16 that came on this earth. And I'm going according to their writings. This is not me saying this. This is their story. 16. This is not mine. This is their story. So when you see stuff like that, and you ask you, and when you see stuff like that, you hear them saying things like this, and mind you, she got the connection because of the complexion. Okay? So I'm sure she's seeing stories, reading books, and doing all of this to justify what she's saying, because she said it in the beginning that they tried to take her out because of the things that she was bringing forth. And ever since I came with the understanding of the creators being masculine and feminine, the creators, the male and the female, I've been receiving a lot of pushback from YouTube, Instagram, and the people that you think that's on the verge or on the journey into this enlightenment. No. These people are still overtaken by the Euro-Christian ideology. They can't get it. They can't fathom out their minds that monotheism is European. They can't fathom out their minds that it's a male-female deity power source that literally is the outlet for the entire world. They really can't get over that. You know why? Because they are the ones that still want to be genetically modified. They are the ones that believe that a divine power is going to come and save us. Nothing is coming to save us as long as we're calling on their gods, as long as we're reading their books, as long as we're dealing with their women, going to their schools, eating their food, as long as we're doing these things and we're not stepping and operating in the purity of the universe, the divine order. Until we get that, there's absolutely nothing you can do. You can read the Bible 50 trillion years, 50 trillion times a day. You can get the spirit of the spirit inside of you. You still gonna be right here. I promise you. Why? Because the creators don't answer callings from people that's operating like the enemy. I'm sorry. But let us continue. Let us continue.
Strategy. Consolidating worship around a single God reinforced national identity and created a centralized authority. Biblical texts reflect this transition, often condemning the worship of other gods as a breach of the covenant with Yahweh. Yet, they also...
And who had this breach with Yahweh? Who had this covenant? I never had a covenant with Yahweh. Don't say my ancestors did. We didn't have a covenant with Yahweh because my ancestors don't know nothing about no Yahweh. My ancestors only know about Jesus because Jesus was forced upon them. We don't know nothing about these. We don't know nothing about no covenant. But they wanted to force you into believing their covenant to justify the genocide on your behalf. Let us continue.
reveal fragments of a pluralistic past where deities like Baal and Asherah coexisted with Yahweh. This transition was not without resistance. The biblical narratives frequently depict conflicts between Yahweh's worship and lingering polytheistic practices. Prophets repeatedly denounce local cults, calling them betrayals or grave sins. However, these denunciations reflect more than spiritual concerns. They reveal a struggle for control over spirituality, which was intrinsically tied to political power. Beyond Yahweh's transformation into an exclusive deity, another strategy was manipulating history. Figures like Moses and David, who play central roles in biblical narratives, are often treated as historical figures. Yet archaeological evidence for their existence is sparse or non-existent. Moses, the liberator,
Non-existent. And not a single person can show me at least 70 blood lineage of Solomon, who has 700 wives and concubines. All I ask is for 70 people just to stand up and prove that their genetics go back to Solomon. It's the 70. Matter of fact, just give me 7. Somebody trace it back to David. So after Jesus died, that lineage died off too. So Jesus didn't have brothers. Joseph didn't have cousins. Nope, nobody had nothing. That whole lineage of David just literally deteriorated. It's just gone. It's no longer in existence. When these stories is literally standing on absolutely nothing. So at this moment, at this point, that means that what I am being taught and being told is another insertion or belief. To do what? Is it liberating me? Is it connecting me? Is it gathering us? Is it putting us in a space of not just righteousness, but in a space of fight, fire, warrior, water? Is it doing any of these things for us? I'll let you guys tell that answer. Let us continue.
of the Exodus, and David, the unifying king of Israel, are presented as pillars of Israelite identity. Their narratives, however, may be as mythological as they are historical. Stavrakopoulou contends that these figures were carefully crafted to legitimize monotheism and consolidate political authority. Moses is depicted as the direct intermediary between God and the people, reinforcing Yahweh's centrality. David, in turn, is portrayed as God's chosen king, justifying the authority of his descendants. These stories served as ideological tools to unify the people and solidify the concept of a singular God. The consequences of this transformation extended beyond religion. The idea of an exclusive, absolute, and jealous God centralized spiritual power and introduced a logic of exclusion. Polytheism, with its diversity, gave way to a system that justified cultural and political domination.
You see what polytheism was doing? It was keeping a divine order. When you watch old African movies and just old movies in general, there's a lot of times where the king was a king and then there was a queen, and everybody had their position. These people are feeding us this, the blood goes through the father. He's the it sounds good. It sounds good. So how come I don't see no more Davids? Where's the children of David? Everything is all jacked up. But yet we uphold these biblos like it's really the word of God. And you absolutely right. It's the word of God and his children. But that God And that children has absolutely nothing to do with the El Kebula kidnapped and the colonized. Just a FYI. Let us continue.
Those who controlled Yahweh's narrative also controlled social structures. What was lost in this process? How many traditions and perspectives were suppressed? The transition to monotheism erased a vision of the divine that was pluralistic and intimately connected to everyday life. This shift altered not only spirituality, but also how we understand power, identity.
Isn't that like everything that I be saying, the divine order? Everything, power, identity, community, what does all of that has in common? Meaning you have to have a power source together for you to walk, to establish, to fight, to stand, to be about business. You got to have a divine order. You need two to dance. You need two to walk, two to talk. All of this. And look, it's being said. That's not me saying this. Let us continue.
And community. This reflection raises a critical question. If monotheism was shaped to serve human purposes, how does that influence our current view of faith? And what can we learn by confronting the complexities and silences within the narratives that have shaped our spiritual history? Connecting all the dots revealed so far, the transformation of God into an abstract figure, the erasure of Asherah, the imposition of monotheism, and the manipulation of historical narratives leads to a troubling conclusion. The Bible is not just a sacred text, but also a powerful tool for social and political control. Francesca Stavrakopoulou argues that the theological and narrative decisions shaping the text were not merely spiritual guides, but instruments to consolidate power structures. The centralization of worship around Yahweh was above all an act of social engineering. By establishing Yahweh as the sole legitimate God, not only was the concept of the sacred redefined, but also who could mediate it. This exclusivity gave rise to a system where priests, kings, and prophets became the only authorized interpreters of divine will. Polytheism, which allowed for decentralized worship and spiritual autonomy, was replaced by a rigid framework where religion became a tool of social regulation. This spiritual control quickly integrated into the political sphere. Rulers began to justify their decisions by claiming a divine mandate. Questioning the authority of leaders was not only an act of political insubordination, but also a violation of faith. This alliance between spiritual...
Basically, you're not allowed to question anybody that's in a political position, government position, or even in a spiritual position. You're supposed to just fall in line and just be a good servant until one day you become that shepherd and you go ahead and gather and gather and gather the sheep. Well, this is a news flash, people. I'm not a shepherd, and you ain't no goddamn animal. You are a warrior. You are a king. You are a queen. You have a purpose. You have a mission. You have a risen. Okay? The risen. Okay? And that risen or reason, however you want to call it, is to get out of this spiritual, physical, mental prison. Okay? This is what you was designed to do. Finish what your ancestors started. People's going to say, how you know that this is what the ancestors started? Because you made it here, fam. Your DNA made it here. It wasn't lost away to never be procreated. This is what they're pushing now. And I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk about that for the weekly broadcast. I'm going to dive deeper into that. But this is what they do. So you must know what's going on. You must know what's your purpose. What's the reason? You have a reason. Find that reason. And stop committing treason amongst your ancestors. Let us continue.
And political power created a hierarchy that subordinated entire communities to centralized systems, where divinity was monopolized by an elite. The impact of this shift went beyond the religious realm. Human spirituality itself was transformed. What was once a direct and personal relationship with the divine became mediated by institutions. This barrier not only distanced humanity from the sacred, but also reinforced dependence on a class of intermediaries. Spiritual experiences, which could be individual and diverse, were funneled through systems that regulated what was acceptable or heretical. The erasure of figures like Asherah reflects the cost of this control. Her exclusion represented more than the elimination of the feminine divine. It was a cultural and social restructuring that marginalized diversity. The biblical narrative consolidated a patriarchal model that subordinated the feminine, erasing its sacredness and reinforcing male hierarchies. Spirituality, which could have been a source of balance and inclusion, became a tool to justify exclusion and domination. But Stavrakopoulou challenges us to look beyond the obvious critique. She invites us to reflect on the deeper implications of this transformation. By turning God into a singular, absolute, and jealous figure, monotheism introduced the logic of exclusivity, which extended far beyond religion. This idea of a single truth upheld by a central authority justified conquests, persecutions, and the suppression of dissenting voices. Biblical narratives, far from being mere reflections of spirituality, shaped how entire societies approached power.
Let me touch on the rejection of the divine order as far as the voices, not being able to speak to, not being able, or should I say, something is preventing you to talk to those voices that you hear in your head, right? You were told that those voices are demons and spirits and you gotta take them out. No, those voices are your ancestors. Those voices sometimes be the creators telling you something that you need to do, right? But you gotta know what's being told for you to do. If what's being told for you to do is to party and blow it down, those are the spirits that come with the Caesar Borgias, and that's what comes with that. That's what comes with the real legion. That comes with that. But when you are on that, yo, I gotta know this. I gotta connect with my ancestors. I gotta speak my language. I'm able to see what this ideology is doing. Those things that's inside of you are the ones that's gonna tell you. When I said to myself, and if I'm lying, I'm flying. I said to myself, if I leave, I'm gonna leave this so-called ideology. I'm gonna leave it, and I'm gonna let you guide my path. And the minute I said that, when I said that I'm no longer gonna do the beat blows, and I'm no longer gonna tell my people that you got to keep the commands, and these are. Once I found out that these things was placed in the land, like it wasn't organic, like this is another thing. No. But anyway, I said once I said I was no longer going to do those things, the ancestors spoke to me, showed me signs, videos coming on my phone, people reaching out, information is coming out. And I already been speaking to my homegirl who's from Africa, South Africa is that, and telling me like, no. She said no. She said listen. She said the Jewish religion has been brutally enforced. Brutally. I always say that every week. Brutally enforced upon the people. And then when I hear about Albert Christian, hey. And when I hear about King Alberto, King Alfonso of the Congo, and I hear stuff like that, it's like, whoa, hold on. Sounds like a D-U-B to me. That's what it sounds like. Sounds like a D-U-B. But let us continue.
Authority and truth. The concept of a single God not only centralized faith, but also legitimized authoritarian systems that persist to this day. Modern religious institutions, many still operating based on biblical texts, continue to exert significant influence over global power dynamics. However, Stavrakopoulou reminds us that this analysis is not an invitation to cynicism, but to reflection. Understanding the Bible as a tool of power does not diminish its relevance, but allows us to question the structures it helped establish. By uncovering the human intentions behind sacred narratives, we are challenged to reconsider how these stories shape our lives and how we can build a more inclusive and balanced future. So the question remains, what happens when we challenge the power structures rooted in narratives constructed for control? By examining these stories honestly, perhaps we can begin to imagine new forms of spirituality, where the divine becomes a space for connection and freedom rather than a tool for domination. It's impossible to ignore the depth of revelations brought by Francesca Stavrakopoulou. Traditionally viewed as a divinely inspired text, the Bible also emerges as a deeply human construction designed to serve specific political and social interests. This realization challenges us not only to revisit the past with fresh eyes, but also to question how these narratives continue to shape our present. The transformation of a tangible, accessible God into an abstract and intangible figure was not merely a spiritual evolution. This strategic shift redefined humanity's relationship with the divine, fostering dependence on intermediaries and consolidating religious and social hierarchies. The erasure of Asherah, the enforced monotheism, and the manipulation of historical narratives reveal that theological choices were deeply entwined with the pursuit of control and centralized power. These decisions left lasting marks, not just on how we understand the divine, but on how we organize our societies. The exclusion of the feminine sacred not only erased a vital spiritual perspective, but also reflected and reinforced the patriarchal structures that shape our culture to this day. The idea of an exclusive, singular God demanding absolute loyalty legitimized not only rulers, but also authoritarian regimes and systems of exclusion. Looking to the present, the implications of this construction are profound. Many religious institutions shaping our world still operate based on traditional biblical interpretations, perpetuating power dynamics that elevate some voices while silencing others. Understanding what was suppressed, adapted, or rewritten throughout history is not merely academic curiosity. It is a way to question the foundations of power that continue to affect our lives. However, this analysis is not a call to reject faith, but to embrace critical reflection. Spirituality and religious traditions can be sources of connection, meaning, and transformation. But to achieve this, we must acknowledge the human layers that shape these narratives and create space for new interpretations. If the past was shaped by choices serving specific interests, the future can be
Now, she just said something that really caught my attention. She said, leaving space for new interpretations. That alone lets you know that this is not a word of the creators. Like, this is not the divine word, like the word. Because don't the word says nothing that I say come back void, and what I say is what it is? Like, I'm not the author of confusion. So are you saying something on Monday, but the same thing you told me Mondays might mean something on the following next week, 3-month Wednesdays or 3-month Tuesdays. That's absurd. This is when I say, okay, you see, this is here comes the mystical guy. Here comes the mysticals and the jokes. Stutter, because I know when I bring this up, I'm gonna be met with something that makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely. And even with the book in the beginning in Genesis, right? And more like the book of Enoch. Or was it the book of Enoch I was reading? Or was it the book of Jasher? It's one of those books I was reading where it had so much contradiction when it's pertaining to the name of Cain, and then they had another Cain, and then they had another damn, what's the other man's name? Damn, I'm so far removed from it. I totally forgot. Tubal Cain. Then then Cain had a son named Enoch, and the Lord had a son named Enoch, and it's just so much, and it's like, yo, bro, this don't even make sense. And the problem with me is we're fighting ourselves to make this stuff make sense, bro. That's where I have an issue. Like, yo, bro, we really at odds to prove that this thing is for real, bro. When what's real is the fact that these people got their hands on our necks when it comes to their ideology, bro. That is a fact, bro. Doesn't matter if you believe in God or not, you are under their ideology, because this entire foundation is under this ideology. Like, you know what? Let's finish.
Be imagined with greater inclusion, diversity, and honesty. Stavrakopoulou reminds us that the stories we tell, and the ones we choose not to tell, reveal more about us than about the divine. Questioning these narratives does not diminish their relevance, it expands it. It is an opportunity to learn from the past and create new ways to live our spirituality. In the end, the question that lingers is not just about the past, but about the future. What happens when we confront these stories and reconstruct them based on inclusion and truth? What kind of society can we create by recognizing that the divine does not have to be a tool of control, but a force for liberation? Reflecting on these questions invites us to imagine a new paradigm in which the sacred is not the property of an elite or the reflection of a singular vision. By rediscovering the suppressed layers of our spiritual history, we can start telling stories that celebrate diversity, equality, and freedom. After all, the true power of narratives lies not just in what they represent, but in what they can inspire.
Well, excuse me. Well, there you go, people. 30 minutes, and I know my in and outs made it probably like an hour and change. My apologies. I was going to run the PDF, but it's already 7:30. So what I'm gonna do for you guys, I'm gonna come on tomorrow around, let's say six, around 6 something. I'm gonna come on and I'm gonna run this PDF. This is gonna be the number 2 to this joint right here. The trial is gonna be on another day. Okay, so just stay tuned. Be on the lookout for that. And yeah, I gotta give you guys my thoughts. So far, this trial is gonna be postponed until tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll get a verdict by tomorrow. But from the evidence and what I see now and what I've been telling you, monotheism is not of our culture. Yahweh is not the supreme deity. What else? This story never took place in Africa. Our people don't have no access to the Bantu scrolls. Somebody needs to show me the Bantu scrolls. Our people don't have access to that. What else? What else? What else was that lady saying? Oh, and our sisters, ladies, you really gotta process this as far as is this word that word that's suited for you. And now I'm not saying to be rebellious and to be all this and to be that. Yes, a woman needs to be ladyish for her man. You know what I'm saying? Nobody want to deal with a testosterone based chick. Nobody doing that. You feel me? But in the same token, our ladies, some of you guys, some of you women come from royalty. When I mean royalty, some of you women come from royal positions. You don't know it. The ones that's suffering the most, that's at the bottom, okay? Based on your last name, based on your social security, based on your location, these people do certain things to prevent you. You don't have an attitude. You're not lazy. You're not this. You're not that. What's going on is a lot of you women was made to rule and be in charge, okay? And you're living in a society where you're not supposed to be in charge. And if you do, and if you are in charge, then you in charge the whole way. That's not how it goes. Now, like I say all the time, a lot of our men, excuse me, I hope you guys can hear me because I'm like, yo, I sound like that. A lot of our men are woman raised, right? And a lot of times, especially the um when you read the Willie Lynch, and because of the Willie Lynch, what the mothers do when it pertaining to their boys, you take that aspect, that ideology has still been passed down generation to generation. To this day, it's still being passed down to generation. To this day. So you take that, understanding of how women is raising men, then you see that a lot of times we are in a time where the women gotta lead. Because the same way the woman overprotected her son, she gave more of the load to the woman. Like the woman had more responsibilities. When you look at historically, you know what I'm saying? When you look at it scientifically, you know what I'm saying? Females mature faster than men. And there's a reason behind that. Now, the reason, I don't know. I'm still in that space of finding out this information because I do want to know why are our women so ostracized when it comes to the Biblos. Like, you guys really play no position other than being a violator or bedwinner. That's it. Like, you guys really hold nothing, and that really don't make sense because when I look at my mom, she did a phenomenal job. When I look at my man's mom, she did a phenomenal job. And when I look at the women that's being great wives and great mothers, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see that every day. So me seeing that lets me know that the position of a woman is way more than what the Biblos is talking about. And when you read it and when you start to dissect it and process it, you realize that there's an agenda and an attack upon our women. Even in the Trinity doesn't even make sense. It says the Father, then the Son, then comes the Holy Spirit. And according to the Hebrew text and the Bantu text, the Holy Spirit is supposedly the wife, the mother, right? How does the son override the mother? Now, if that alone makes you need to question, then what is it about the women that that the information is just so diluted and suppressed and not talked about? What is it? And that's the journey. And for all my sisters that's following this, you know what I'm saying, Black Girl Magic, Bound to Princess, you know what I'm saying? Every single one of you guys, I need you to go find, and I repeat, to go find information pertaining to our ladies, our sisters, our mother, our foremothers, our mothers of past, present, and the mothers of the future. We need to know the truth, and they need to know the truth, or should I say the facts, because only the facts is what we stand on, right? But yeah, we're gonna continue this tomorrow. I got a PDF for you guys. I definitely want to rock that out. Definitely want you guys to see what I put together. And yeah, like I said, this is just the first of many. The verdict, the facts over beliefs. This is the show where the El Kebulan people, all the jurors, the prosecutors, and the judges, and we're gonna get our point across, and we will decross or denounce and really break free from this ideology. And once we are able to do that, then we can communicate and establish things in pure righteous reality. And not this fairy tale story. Not this believe, wait, Jesus is going to come, hallelujah, all of this nonsense. No, we don't want none of that. All of that is not it, and it's not going to work. When you decolonize, when you deconstruct yourself from this ideology, then the conversations is going to be a whole lot different. We will be able to talk about, healing our people. We will be able to talk about buying schools and or building schools and building churches and not even church, but building shrines where people can, give worship, having our own libraries, having our own stores again. Once we're able to do that, that's when we're going to elevate to that next level. Until then, I'm sorry. Not going to happen. Not going to happen today. Not going to happen tomorrow. Not going to happen next week. Not going to happen next month. As long as you accept their ideology, you will be standing right here, suffering, continue mourning, and waiting for some solution to happen. And it won't happen, Captain. And that's the reality. Facts over beliefs. Okay? Throw away the beliefs. Stand on your facts. And you will realize that you are a El Kebulan kidnap, and you want your land back. You understand? And we ain't eating nobody land back. We want our land back. So with that being said, people, it's your brother, man, from the motherland, man. I came to you guys live, man, live and direct. You know who I am. You know where I stand. I am him, you heard? I am him, you heard? The Junior, Junes, the NBIC, a.k.a. Mr. Keep My Foot on all religious authority. You heard me? And we only getting started. So continue supporting, like, comment, share, subscribe. If it's your first time, I hope it's not your last time. If it's your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth time, that means I'm still on your mind. That means you got to stay on that grind, because it's about that time. Time for you to go get yours, because I am on that journey to go and get mine. It's your brother, man. You understand? And I'ma holler at y'all. One.